GE. It is suitable for general family viewing.
Dear viewers, welcome again to another Thursday. My name is Dr. Chepsi and this is Body Garage, the art of well-being. Today we invite you to a very relevant discussion because this is something that is already happening in our homes, and this is something about autism. To start us off, Autism Society of Kenya mentions that the prevalence, that is the percentage of the children who might be having autism, is about 4%. That is 1 in every 25 children. The same report by CDC estimates that 1 in every 36 children might be having a form of autism. So that is what we want to discuss today, and we have our guest, Dr. Neema. Karibu sana. Pleasure to have you on the show. Yes. Before we go to the discussion of today, this time is for the viewer to get to know who you are. Where can they find you? What do you do?
Okay. So as you heard, my name is Neema Lema. I'm a pediatrician by profession with very special interest in autism. I'm actually also an autism specialist as well. But really, the whole motivation is because I'm a parent to a child who's on the spectrum. So that's really where I draw my inspiration, and that's one of the things that, you know, keep me up at night. How best can we bring up these children? Yeah, as a doctor, but also as a parent, because I'm wearing those two hats.
I think that makes sense, because sometimes it is said when something you hear about it, you might not feel it, but for you it seems
something
like
I live. Yeah, yeah, that's so
personal.
True. Very personal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Thank you for
appreciate your
having
time.
me. Asante.
Yeah. Let's just start with the figures that I've mentioned. You know, maybe generally we agree that the numbers might not present the exact picture. It might be more. But if you say 1 in every 25 children or 1 in every 36 children have autism, is that sounds like a significant number?
It is, and actually, as you said, the probability that the number is even much higher is quite high. And you see, 1 in every 25 children is not the same as 1 in every 25 families. It's 1 in every 25 children, yeah? So the numbers are quite high, especially when you look at if assuming Kenya, I think Kenya we are at 40-50 million right now. And these are people, a family should have just roughly 5 people in a family, which is 10 million families, yeah? So 10 million families, each family having an average of 3 children. When you divide that by 3, it's more than 3 million homes actually have children who are on the spectrum. That's
that is
a
only
lot.
in Kenya.
That's only in Kenya. Yeah, that's only in Kenya.
All right. That's really. And you, off the camera, you mentioned that something to do with the 200%.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you look at the history, autism is not a very new thing. Actually, it has always been there. Actually, it's dated as I think 1920s, 1930s, and it was not called autism, but when you look at the history, it used to be called people who cannot talk and people who cannot relate socially. And then through different methods of diagnostic, that's when I think it was only in 2019, where in DSM-5, where they said autism is just autism spectrum disorder. Everything was put under one umbrella called autism. And so it being a spectrum disorder, it means when you compare 1970s to 2000s, autism has increased by almost 200%. So chances are we are going to see more cases. So there's an argument that it's not like the numbers have actually increased, but it's more the diagnosis is being made more commonly. There's that one argument. But also the fact we don't know the cause of autism puts us in a very gray area, because if you don't know what is the cause of autism, then we cannot really say it's going to go down or it's going to continue to go up. Yeah.
So, and when you don't know the cause, you might not have effective strategies to prevent.
Yes. No, you can't. You can't prevent autism. It's something that, because looking at my history, when my son was born, he's a very handsome boy, very healthy. The first year was pretty okay. Then when he got to 1 year, I realized, he's not talking, actually. He's actually not talking. Then he started talking, but it was gibberish. Like, he would say something no one would understand. Then with time, he started talking like lots of gibberish, and then in the middle, you pick 1 or 2 words in that mix, yeah? So it's only after 2 years, that's when we were like, something is seriously wrong, yeah. But everything else was fine. He sat, he walked, he was not social, like he wouldn't have an eye contact. He would always like to play in his own little corner. He did not enjoy the toys as we know it. He had very special interests. He loved sticks, he loved rulers, he loved matchsticks. He was very particular. Like, you could take a whole matchbox and mix that matchstick and you look for it and find it, because there's the way he felt that was very different compared to the other matchsticks. And that's when you look at what autism is, that's exactly what autism is, yeah?
Let's get into that discussion of getting our viewers to understand the basics of what. So if we can go to a bit about the book definition of what autism is.
Yeah. So autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder. By neurodevelopmental, it means neuro is the brain. Developmental means it's something that happens as the child's brain is developing, yeah? And it's usually characterized by 2 major things. The first thing is the social communication, and then the other one is restricted repetitive behaviors. Social communication simply means how this child is relating with other people socially. And then communication, it means how they communicate. Communication can be both verbal and non-verbal. So some kids are verbal, like they use words, but the way they use words is different. They usually use words literally. Literally.
The ones that we know.
Yes. Yeah. And then the non-verbal is that they are not able to have eye contact. It's usually, if I come in and I'm not happy, without even me saying anything, you'll notice Neema is not happy. But for them, you'll come, you're not happy, they would be like, hi. Because for them, they cannot interpret such cues, yeah? So that's on the communication aspect. And then on the restricted repetitive behaviors, they have these behaviors that they keep on doing over and over again. This could be hand flaps, this could be running to and fro, this could be jumping. And so if you are not coming from a point of knowledge, you are more likely to stop them, because it looks weird. We are seated in a group, and then I keep on doing this. I keep on doing this. Yeah, but trying to stop them only makes it worse. Yeah. So that's So that's what autism is.
So generally, the social communication breakdown, and those repetitive behaviors.
Yes.
Now, is it right to say that when now there's marked those repetitive behavior, is it a way of compensating for the inability to communicate?
Yes. So when you see the behaviors, most of the time, it signifies how their senses are being integrated and regulated in their brain. Remember, autism stems in how the brain develops. Yeah, the pathways are very different compared to a typical brain. Yeah, so we have senses. We have the taste, tongue,
Smell.
Yes, those the normal senses. But then there's the sense of the joint. There's the sense of the internal organs, like I'm hungry, I'm too tired, I need to sleep. Your brain has to tell you those things. And so for them, because of now their pathways are very different, they need to do other things to compensate for them to be able to feel that communication from their brain. So them not being able to feel, or them feeling so much, is what really triggers those different things that they experience, and then they manifest now as behaviors. That's what we see. Yeah, so what I always see whenever you see a child on the spectrum doing something, observe. Instead of approaching the behavior as stop, just try to see what are they really trying to achieve. Yeah, because if you don't approach it that way, you're more likely to really miss by a mark. And that's, you come to a conclusion, these kids are so rebellious, they're not listening, you know, but really it's you not being able, you are not able to understand their language. Yeah.
So where is the cutoff? Because I think maybe at 1 to 2 years, that is, we expect children at that age to throw tantrums, to be a bit gibberish and stuff like that. Yeah. So where, up to when are we saying that this is not the normal?
So there's really no cutoff, is the extent. So for example, a child born at 6 months, they should be able, I look at you, make a face, you should be able to smile. That's what you'd expect. But a child at 9 months, now who's on the spectrum, they're not even looking at you. You're calling their name.
So you can even start noticing those things at under 1 year of age.
Yes, yeah. And you're calling them, Chebi, you're busy. So usually the first thing, and this is what parents will tell you, I'm not sure if my child can actually hear me. Or they don't respond to their name, but when a favorite TV hymn come, they are there on the screen. Yeah, so it is those things that you find like, something is actually off here. Then when it comes to tantrums, it's true. Usually toddlers have a lot of tantrums, but there's tantrums and then there's meltdown. Kids who are on the spectrum actually experience meltdowns, and meltdown simply means they are overwhelmed by the senses around them. So for them, it is prolonged, it's more painful, and usually you cannot soothe them. You see a child on the spectrum who's not on the spectrum, they'll throw a tantrum, then you'll go hug them, then, you know, or give them whatever, they'll calm down. A child who's on the overwhelm, you may even try to soothe them, it only gets worse. Because for them, it's coming from the brain, it's not from the environment. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
A bit about on the repetitive behaviors. You know, you see parents say that, you know, for example, in the clinic, you come during examination, the only thing that can calm them down, be it a 1-year-old or a 3-year-old, is being given the phone and looking at their favorite cartoons.
Yeah.
So what will we say to the parents? I mean, how will they differentiate from a child who likes that and actually being a sign of these children who is a child who's on a spectrum, who like, most of the time they like inanimate objects?
Yes, yeah. So a child who loves cartoon because they love cartoon, you see, that's a trained behavior. It's a trained behavior. But a child who's on the spectrum, they don't have trained behaviors. For them, everything starts from here. So what we always say is autism is not a behavioral problem. As much as they will be behaving differently, but it is not primarily a behavior problem. It's a neuro-developmental problem.
The brain is pushing them to do that.
Exactly. And that's how we always advocate, even for a parent. Whenever you see your child doing something, don't really look at that, because that behavior is just the end. Come back and see what are they trying to achieve. Yes. So for a child who has come and they can actually be calmed down by a TV, that's just a behavior. Yeah, because a child who's actually on the spectrum, you really need to give them the feedback they need. It could be the screen as one of the methods, but it's not the same mechanism. Yes, it's not the same mechanism. Yes.
So you have to be a bit more careful to come to note that.
Yes, and you should look at a child holistically, not just that one moment of, my child, I have to use a phone for them to calm down. Because when you're doing history taking, you'll always see like, okay, yes, he's always like this. Does he play with other kids? No. Does he communicate? No. When you call him, does he respond to their name? No. Then you know, okay, this is not just a problem with the phone. Because this other child will be, they're fine at home. It's just that they use the phone to to calm themselves. Yeah.
Let's take a break, and when we are back, we are going to discuss more about who could be at risk of autism.
Okay.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Wanasema wasemao kuwa elimu ni bahari haiishi kwa kuchotwa. Wakati mwingi natangamana na wanafunzi madarasani, sio kama mwalimu bali kama nahodha kwenye kipindi cha tasnia ya elimu. Na iwapo utanikosa madarasani, basi utanipata nyanjani nikisaka habari zenye usawa, ufasaha na ukweli. Na iwapo utanikosa nyanjani, bila shaka utanipata studioni hapa nikisoma habari na kuendesha mijadala mikomavu. Mimi ni Andrin Kilemi, mpenzi wa lugha ya Kiswahili na elimu kwa jumla.
They say money makes the world go round. So let's
Welcome back. You are watching Body Garage, the art of well-being, and I'm your host, Dr. Chepsi. We are talking about autism, and right now we will head over to discuss about who is at risk of developing autism, or what are some of the risks that, you mentioned at the beginning that there is no clear cause of autism that has been identified. But I think there are some circumstances that might promote that, right? Yeah.
I wouldn't want to use the word promote. However,
Yeah.
I would say what has been attributed. It's just attributed to, yes. So there are a number of things. The first one that is, mostly screamed about is air pollution.
Air pollution.
Air pollution, like a pregnant mom gets, carries a child in a place where, but you see there is no direct association yet, but again, it's just attribution. So it's air pollution, maternal mothers who are diabetic, obesity, and then there's a very strong genetic association that if you have a child who's on the spectrum, the probability of you having another child who's on the spectrum, it almost doubles or triples. Yes, so those are the things. So who is at risk really when you look at those things? Air pollution, especially if you're in Nairobi. Well,
the chances are high.
Yeah. But and then there's also the issue of pesticides as well, like the quality of food that we find in our markets, in the supermarkets. Then of course the chemicals that we eat every day and drink every day. So really when you look at it that way, it means it's more of the changes that come with urbanization, more of the changes that come with industrialization. So who's at risk really? As long as you're alive, you are actually at risk. Unless if you already have a child, then the risk really multiplies because of the genetic aspect. But when you look at that literally, everyone is at risk. It's just chance.
The people will say, like, if you get a child at an older age, does that put at risk of autism?
Well, yeah. We see having a child at an older age has been associated with so many things. Yeah. But it's not necessarily. Not necessarily. As you say, it's not a direct. It's more of attributed. Looking at my story, it's my eldest son who's on the spectrum. The other two, they're fine, and I was much older.
Yeah.
So it's more of those things like, okay, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, but really it's not a must. Yeah.
What of the, like, you know, when a baby is born before term?
Prematurity.
Yeah. And or who is born with a very extremely low birth weight, are those part of the attributed?
Yes,
factors?
they are mentioned. But looking at a premature baby, so there was one debate that you are not sure what came before what. You see, a chicken egg situation. Yeah. Because if autism is a neurodevelopmental, was the baby born premature, then the issues of development happened? Yeah. Or were the developmental issues before, then prematurity happened? Yeah. It's but yes, extreme low birth weight and premature, and you see those are usually risks to, I mean, you're a doctor, those are risks to literally a baby born premature
it's a lot of issues.
Yes.
So what we can agree is that there is no clear cause for autism, and that therefore poses a big challenge on even trying to prevent it, for example. Yes. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about this trend that it is said that, as you said, like in the 2000s, there is a 200% increase in autism. And when you look at the 2000s, this century, there is an increase in technology, especially electronics, and there's more televisions, more mobile phones, computers. Even in schools, we are moving away from textbooks, print reading materials to electronics. Yeah. So there's an argument that, you know, exposure of children to electronics can be contributing to the increasing autism, and in this case, something specifically like speech delays. So let's talk about that. How do electronics influence the brain of a child? Before we even talk about autism, is there an effect on the brain of the child?
Yes, there is. And this is not unique to autism. It's in every developing brain. Whether typical or atypical. So what we know, actually what studies have shown before 2000, that's how many years ago? 24, guy.
24 years ago.
24 years ago, yeah. Before 2000s, most people, their only source of electronic device was a TV.
Yes, the black and white.
No. But it was colored, but TV.
Yes.
Most people, like I grew up, the only electronic gadget was just a TV, and I'm not young. I remember growing up, and we only had one TV, and we'd watch it once a week.
Maybe even neighbors come and watch.
Exactly. Yeah. So fast forward, right now, even in my practice, a child comes in, they have their tablets, or they have their phone. You find a family of 5, everyone has their phone, everyone has their tablet, the TV is on, like there's just something going on, So naturally, what was meant for us was a human-to-human interaction. A human baby was meant to interact with a human adult so that they are able to learn. And what is the first stage of learning? Attention. There's no learning if there is no attention. So, and how, you see, when I'm not sure if you're a father, but for us who are parents, you get your baby, you change the diaper, they'll always be looking. They'll always be listening. They'll always be hearing. They'll always be looking around because they are paying attention to what is happening around their world. And that's how it was supposed to be. So a parent imparts information either by, talking in whatever language, by them seeing the facial expressions, by them seeing how the mouth is moving, okay, by seeing a back and forth conversation, yeah. And that's how a child comes and one day says, Mama, Baba, because they've been hearing this for almost the whole year. You are being called Baba, I'm being called Mama, is being called Auntie, you know, Jua. So that's how speech was meant to develop. Fast forward now, you are in a room of 5 people and no one is talking. And this child is put on a bassinet there. Everyone is like we are not interesting enough, we are more interested with other people whom we don't know and maybe we'll never even meet. Yeah. So what you are robbing from this child is a human-to-human interaction. They are not hearing anything. So if a normal human would speak, I think it's usually 300 words in an hour, or is it 300 words? Per day, I think. It's usually per day. Yeah. And now we are seated here for 2 hours and you say, by the way, I'm hungry. I mean, that's one sentence. Yeah. So you see, it will definitely take so much time for this child to be able to gather enough words for them to be able to pronounce that one word. Yeah. And that's what we are really seeing. Yeah. Worse is this child is not having anything, but because everybody is having a phone and there is actually a screen on top of it. The screen is doing its own thing and everyone is on their tablet and all that. So what happens is, even when we are talking, this child is distracted because of that noise. Because of the noise. There's, you know, the TV just talks. It doesn't matter who is listening or not. It just talks. So this child is like, okay, so this is actually a noisy world. And people are just talking. Or sometimes they just hear these things that just don't even make sense in their minds, yeah? So the development will definitely be delayed because we are still human beings. It's not like we have evolved to something superior, no? We still have to follow the same way of development, yeah? So that has been one of the biggest attributing factors to speech delay. And with speech delay comes issues with attention because we are always on the move. We are always on the move. And with lack of attention comes learning. Learning also becomes affected because if you cannot be attentive for 5 minutes because you want to check your phone, you want to check what is happening, then it means, I mean, you're a doctor. You needed to sit down and study for 2 hours straight. So if that is robbed from you, you find, that's why we have kids doing all these sorts of things. Yeah.
That's quite. In one instance, there was a mother who, you know, had an infant under 1 year. So to say that, you know, of course, people are busy going to work. You leave your children with the house manager, and that infant, I think, was 9 months there. They are sorted and soothed when they are placed in front of the huge screen, and they don't cry the whole day.
Because for them, I mean, that's actually, I mean, there's another statistics I just came across. Yeah. They say before 19 what? I can't remember. It was towards the end of 1990s, Ruko. A child will be introduced to a screen at 4 years. 4 years. That will be the first time a child encounters a screen. I think it was 1980s or something. Right now, a child is introduced on the screen the same day they are born. The same day they are born. Screen do here. So we are developing, like, we are completely different human beings. As far as the brain is concerned, we are completely different human beings. So this child who has been exposed to screen from day one, they go home, of course, the first 3 months, sometimes even the mother is breastfeeding, and I always tell this note to all the mothers I see, but a mom is breastfeeding and they are scrolling.
Oh, you're not...
You are not having eye contact. You remember the advantages of breastfeeding? One was eye contact, emotional
and
connection,
bonding, yes.
and bonding. There's nothing like that these days. Yeah, because so we are bringing up children who are emotionally deprived. Because also for them it means I'll only eat from here, and then after that I also get my something going on. And usually when they get to 5 years and you're telling them, no, you train these people from day zero.
Yeah. Sure. All right.
Yeah.
Quite interesting conversation. We are going to take a break. When we are back, we continue with the same conversation.
Wanasema wasemao kuwa elimu ni bahari haiishi kwa kuchotwa. Wakati mwingi natangamana na wanafunzi madarasani, sio kama mwalimu bali kama nahodha kwenye kipindi cha tasnia ya elimu. Na iwapo utanikosa madarasani, basi utanipata nyanjani nikisaka habari zenye usawa, ufasaha na ukweli. Na iwapo utanikosa nyanjani, bila shaka utanipata studioni hapa nikisoma habari na kuendesha mijadala mikomavu. Mimi ni Andrin Kilemi, mpenzi wa lugha ya Kiswahili na elimu kwa jumla.
They say money makes the world go round. So let's slow things down a bit. Put things in perspective. From the markets to the streets to the stocks, we make the complex comprehensible. Join me, Hibak Said, on TV47 Business News for market insights like never before.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for. That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Muyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Toka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Kutoka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, kaunti 028.
Nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Wajir.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Turukana.
Kwa matukio yote yanayojiri katika kaunti hii 012.
Kutoka kaunti nambari 1, kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Lamu.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka Kisii County.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Machakos.
Kutoka kaunti hii ya Trans Nzoia.
Kaunti 038.
Kutoka gatuzi nambari 029, kaunti ya Nandi.
back. You are watching Body Garage, the art of well-being. I'm your host, Dr. Chebsi, and we are talking about autism. This conversation is very interesting. So where we left, we were talking about what the screen does to this developing brain of this child. And even I think what you mentioned, when you look even at adults nowadays, you meet in a room and everybody's on their phone. There's no one-on-one conversation,
yeah.
even if you're strangers. Now, there's the issue of generally the screens, but there's also the issue of specifically exposing children to cartoons, specifically cartoons. Is there a problem with that?
Yes. So, as much as we talk screen as a general term, there are some screen times that are beneficial, actually, though not to children who are less than 1 year. So like 0 to 1 year, no discussion, no screen, whatever type of screen. Actually, what also researchers said is 0 to 1 year olds cannot do machine learning, which is what screen is. There is no machine learning from 0 to 1 year. Now, after 1 year, because this is the time they're really, interested in their environment, they want to form social, it's about the first, after 1 year, what is usually left is the social skills, yeah? So you can show them the screen, though what you usually recommend is no screen before 2 years, but there's been an argument of, can you use the screen to increase vocabulary to a child's language?
Yeah, that's an argument.
Yes, there's an argument for that. And it's a yes if this child already has language.
When they already have
language, yes. So if this child has no language, has no speech, that is a human responsibility. You cannot give it to someone else. But if your child is already talking, because there are kids who talk quite early, 7-8 months, they're already starting to, mama, baba. By 1 year, they're making, the vocabulary is already there, and you see their pronunciation is good. So that is when maybe you can now use short screen times that are usually educational, just to add on to what they already have. So what we are saying is no screen to kids who have no speech and language. It's 0. Yeah. So if your child already has delayed, that makes it even worse. That makes it even worse. Yes. What was the question?
The question was cartoons.
Cartoons. So because when you look at cartoons, cartoons can be animation. Most of them are animation, yeah? Okay, I don't know types of cartoons. But they are usually, I grew up in Tom and Jerry era.
Those were in print.
I don't know, but they were.
But a few on TV. Yeah.
No, they were on TV. We used to watch them, but we used to have those too. Yeah. When you look at cartoons are fast-moving pictures, like really fast. You must follow the story for you to be able to understand what is happening. So what cartoons usually do is, the first thing is there is no dialogue, there is no back and forth. That's the first thing. Number 2, it is super fast. So for a brain that is developing, they may understand the story, but they will not be able to speak. Yeah. So for a brain that they will not be able to speak, and they're developing pathways that the world is naturally fast. Yeah. And this is one of the bases that early screen time or excessive screen time is associated with hyperactivity, because their brains is always in motion, because they've usually 2 years of watching moving pictures. Like you seated on us.
Cartoons are
they're fast, jumping, examping, and
crashing things.
Even some usually for those who develop language, they even speak in those high tones, the way like cartoons. Yes. I've met quite a number of kids who are like that. Even, and you listen, notice, I know of some parents who you say, I want my child to have an American accent or a British accent. So they show them such. For some it works, but it only works for a child, for a brain that already has some level of language and they are able to make sense to what is being spoken. So coming to your question of cartoons, I know. Actually, they are the worst. Cartoons and video games. they are the worst when it comes to the brain. Video games have been associated with a lot of depressions, anxieties. And I'm not sure if it's because of, you are competing.
Competition.
Or is it because of the way they are so... But it's associated with a lot of aggression and anxiety and depression, especially for the older kids, though. Yeah, because they are the ones who are constantly gaming. Yeah.
This discussion is not going to end. Let's move on to another part. So let's shift a bit. The stigma of autism. And I think in the African context, we can agree to some extent that the numbers may not be accurate because many of these things are undiagnosed.
Undiagnosed, yeah.
Maybe if somebody has such an issue, they are hidden somewhere or something is done. Have you come across such?
Them being hidden?
Like an umbrella of stigma, kind of.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes. There's a lot of stigma associated with autism, and of course it comes from a point of ignorance, simply because they feel like a child who's on the spectrum. You see, most of them are not able to speak, and then of course now they're not able to relate socially, and then they have all these behaviors that would consider not to be normal, quote unquote. And so because of that, there's a lot of embarrassing moments that is associated with having a child who is behaving in a not so normal way. Yeah, so that comes with a lot of stigma, that a child does something and they're like, but why is the mother allowing, or why is the father allowing this? Not knowing, okay, they have just seen that child, but also is there a possibility that this child is also not in control of that situation? Yeah. So yes, there's a lot of stigma. And then also, of course, we're in Africa, witchcraft is real. So so there's always this aspect of kurogwa. And because umerogwa, unaenda kutafuta mrogi.
To reverse that.
Yes. So there's also that. Yeah. But then most of it, I always say, it comes from a point of ignorance. Those who are very spiritual, they'll say they are demon possessed. Yeah, like, okay, mulete kwa maombi, so that we pray over them and all sorts of things. Yeah, so the stigma is there. Stigma is there. And sometimes even stigma is, as I said, I'm a parent of a child on the spectrum. I stigmatize myself because I'm not confident enough to own my story. So I look at my child and start wishing they were different, and so I want to hide them because I kind of feel them behaving the way they are behaving is not a representation of me, while that is actually your reality. So you find you as the parent stigmatizing your own child. Yeah, sometimes it's even victimizing, you are diminishing, like they are trying to express themselves, you are trying, stop. Some they even end up pinching, some they end up even punishing them, as you said, hiding them. I know of a story, a parent would tie a child on a tree because of this, jumping and all that. Yeah. So sometimes this stigmatizing, before we even look outside, sometimes it's coming from inside. Yes, yeah.
I came across a woman who was left by the husband because she gave birth to an autistic child. The husband left because, this woman has a problem, like where she's coming from. Yeah, yes, so it's real. So yeah. So if a parent is noting that a child is having something that is taking this direction, so where should they start, and what steps should be taken to establishing if this is autism and now finding the appropriate help?
So the first thing, once you should, as a parent, you should be able to know what to expect when. Yeah. So if you notice your child, their milestones are really not catching up with age. Most parents, because of fear, which is understandable, fear of either facing the reality or fear of that stigma, they end up saying, we give the child time. Because I remember I did that, by the way. Like, let's give time. He will talk. Yeah. So this is what I always say. Whenever you think your child is not developing the way you would expect other kids to develop, just speak to your pediatrician. speak to your pediatrician, give them, you know, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I've seen, what should I do? And your doctor will always guide you. If the doctor thinks, okay, we have time and you can try play group and all that, then that's okay. But if the doctor thinks, okay, you need to go for assessment, then you need to go for assessment, and then the diagnosis will be done.
In the diagnosis, what are some of the options that a child with autism can be helped? Are they on medications? Is it therapy? How is it done?
So yes, so autism, there's no medicine for autism. However, there are some drugs. I don't know if it would be right for me to mention them, but there are some drugs for the kids who are very aggressive or who are very hyperactive may be put on some drugs for a short period of time just to calm them down, and then they're stopped, and then they continue. So that would be like more like managing the symptoms? More managing the symptoms, yes. But autism at autism, there's no medication. There's no medication, yeah. So when you go for assessment, yes, you'll be given the diagnosis, but what they're also going to try to see is what challenges are you currently having. As we said, autism is a spectrum disorder. They are those ones who are super, like they're high functioning, as we call them, and then there are those ones who are on the other side. So we have levels, level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 who really, they need just very little assistance, then moderate, then the ones who need a lot of assistance. So that's what the level 3s. So once you get the diagnosis, levels will be given, and then depending with which level you find yourselves in, there'll be identified challenges that are very specific to your child, and those are the therapies that you are going to need. So it's for your child.
Will be individualized.
Everything about autism is individualized. Everything about autism is individual, and that's one of the biggest challenges of autism. You see, malaria is malaria. Whether you're in malaria is malaria, but not with autism. It's very individualized because two kids will have the same diagnosis on the same level, but their needs are very different. Yes, yeah.
What is the story like? Can we say that there are those kids who have autism and they have been helped and they are able to function independently?
Yes. So you see with the levels are not fixed, they're fluidity. So you may start with level 3, then you come to level 2 and level 1, really depending with how young you were, how good your therapies are, and you know, the genetic, how your brain is, because it's primarily a neuro problem. Yeah. So yes, they are there. As I told you my story, when my son was starting, I mean, it was difficult. You know, just the normal milestones, potty training, you know, bed waiting, speech. But with therapies, with a lot of love. The first treatment for autism is love. You need to love and accept this child for who they are. Stop wishing they were different. See them, you see, like, it's the way I see you, Dr. Chebsi. I honor you as you are. I accept you as you. I stop wishing, oh, I wish you were a bit brown, a bit. I mean, that makes you feel bad, yeah? You know, you can imagine this is a child who himself is not even able to understand themselves. And then you're trying to make them behave in a way they also don't know, okay. Because they when you look at talk to most kids, people who are on the spectrum, they wish they would behave normally, but they can't, because you see
something is pushing
exactly. So the first thing is they need to be loved and accepted for who they are. Then the second thing is the parents, the caregivers, need to own their emotions. Because if you are coming from a point of being broken, you are more likely to see your child is also broken. Maybe it's you who needs to fix your issues, and then you'll have to,
As we wind up, this conversation cannot end.
Yes.
Lastly, maybe just share where people can find you for, you know, maybe there are parents at home with children who might benefit from this care. Where can they find you?
So I'm on social media. Facebook, Neema Lema, Neema A. Lema, Instagram, Dr. N. Lema, TikTok, Dr. Neema Lema.
TikTok.
Yes. Well, yeah. Doctor. So I do virtual consultations.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I do virtual consultations. I have a website, Autism Voice for Children.
Okay.
So they can check the website, and they'll be able to see the. I think everything is on the website. Right. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much. Time is not on our side. I wish we could go on and on.
Autism is
the people.
Yes, that is so true.
But we appreciate this far.
Thank you so much for having me, and I want to applaud you for I love people who talk about autism, because it's one of the biggest things that we need to do to create awareness. To just find autism is one of the other conditions, and we don't really need to stigmatize these children. Yeah, so thank you so much for what you do.
I'm honored.
Yeah.
Thank you too.
Aye.
All right, we have come to the end of our discussion on autism. I trust that you have learned a lot and that your take-home message could be different. But the important part is that autism is real